I never thought I'd find myself in a situation that was stewing with a mix of nostalgia and raw, unfiltered revenge. But that was the weekend my whole world shifted, the kind of shift that swings the pendulum from sympathy to exhilaration in just a heartbeat. "Sure, let's take the kids to Grandma's," I said to my husband, my mind racing back to the small-town days of my youth. "It'll be a nice break for us and a fun trip for them." The wedding of an old neighbor's daughter was the perfect excuse to reconnect with my past, or so I thought. I was Nora Evans, 32 years old, trying to reclaim a slice of childhood joy in quiet Maplewood. The memories of running through those sun-warmed streets with my childhood friend, Sam, were like an old, tattered book I loved to read every now and then. The thing is, Sam had a sister, Molly. Molly, who was sweet but also had a penchant for playful mischief, took it a step too far one night. I grimaced at the thought of her prom night, a night that stretched out in my memory like an extended scream. How could I forget the laughter that echoed through our small, tight-knit community when she pulled the hair removal cream stunt on her brother? Sam had shown up for prom, bald and humiliated, the kind of humiliation that doesn't just wash away. It sticks around, haunting you long after you think it's gone. And I had moved away not long after that, leaving those painful echoes behind, but always keeping a distant eye on my friends through the screen of my phone. Fast forward 9 years. The wedding was big, lavish. Everyone was talking about it. And there I was, stepping back into that familiar world awash in memories of childhood pranks and warm family gatherings. After days of anticipation turned into sweet reunions, we received a shocking text from Sam's dad the morning of the wedding. "Canceled," it said. "Party still on." What? I could hardly wrap my mind around it until I got to the reception, now dressed as a party. The hall was lavishly decorated, but the lightness of the event was weighed down by the tension in the air. The moment I spotted Sam, the gleam in his eyes told me everything I needed to know. This was going to be a story for the ages. I sidled up to him, trying to piece together the puzzling situation. "What happened?" I asked, my voice just above a whisper. You see, Sam had waited a long time for this moment, like a fine wine maturing in the cellar, and I was about to witness his revenge firsthand. With a smirk barely touching his lips, he told me the saga of how he had swiped Molly's shampoo the night before. "I just put a little of the same cream in there. The exact same stuff," he said, his voice low but vibrating with uncontained excitement. I chuckled, half in disbelief, half in admiration. It was poetic, really. Here he was, a grown man, not letting the scars of his past fade, but using them to carve out a scene of light and shadow that held the weight of a decade's worth of hurt. "I had to do it," he chortled, his eyes glinting mischievously. I could see he relished the justice. It was time to put it all back in balance. The reception hall pulsed with energy as if everyone could feel the undercurrents of that long-awaited revenge. Sam's parents exchanged glances that said everything. They were disappointed, but not entirely, against their son's moment of reckoning. They knew what she had done, how wrong it had been. Molly's betrayal was dangling like a rotten fruit in the forefront of their minds, making them hesitant to condemn Sam. I watched as Molly stormed into the room, her eyes wide with rage and disbelief, the remnants of her beautiful, elaborate hairstyles scattered on the floor behind her. It sparked a renewed energy in the crowd, and suddenly I found myself laughing, feeling exhilaration swell in my chest. It was injustice served cold, and just like that, the party took on a different energy, one that cracked with laughter and conspiratorial whispers. Most of the people there were on Sam's side, and I realized they'd already heard whispers of what he'd done. Conversations morphed into retelling the legend of the bald prom night and how the tables had turned in a grand theatrical play. It felt good. It felt like light breaking through the storm clouds that had followed my friend all those years. As I sat there, surrounded by laughter and the vibrant atmosphere of a party that had turned from joy to chaos, I soaked in the satisfaction of seeing justice executed so beautifully. It wasn't just a prank. It was a righting of a wrong, a balancing of scales that had hung uneven for far too long. By the end of the night, I felt liberated as I cheered Sam on, not just for what he had done, but for the courage it took to finally pull the trigger on his bitterness. Watching Molly sulk at the edge of the room, stricken and defeated, it struck me that this was not just about vengeance. It was about emotional release. The laughter echoed around us like a cleansing storm. Years of pain, shame, and resentment had been transformed into what we now shared. moments of connection, laughter, and a twisted kind of healing. I realized that while it felt wrong to revel so much in someone else's downfall, I acknowledged that sometimes life just had to balance itself out. Sam had taken that fateful step into the realm of the Avenger, and I was here to witness it, to feel it, and to celebrate it. As we drove home the next day, the anticipation of sharing the story with my children hummed in the air. I put my hand over my husband's as we rode quietly, an understanding blossoming between us that this trip had gifted us something unexpected. The reminder of a life's moral intricacies, the lengths of sibling rivalry, and the layered depths of love that could lean toward cruelty, but somehow, in darkness, find its way back to light. Life had a funny way of teaching us. We could forgive but never forget. Sometimes, it was the forgetfulness that hurt the most, leaving wounds that festered until they became infected. But in that moment, as I replayed the night's thrilling twist in my head, I knew it was time to wrap up those past layers of hurt into a neat little package and tuck it away, knowing I could return to that feeling as long as I held the memories close. So here I am, months later, reflecting on how the taste of revenge can be sweet, even if it's not mine. Because sometimes, witnessing justice from the sidelines reminds us that we can rise from the ashes of betrayal, even if the fire first belonged to someone else. And in that understanding, I found my own empowerment, knowing the world still offers a sense of balance even when it feels utterly imbalanced.